I've heard of applied maths and applied physics, but what is applied spirituality?
If you see in any normal Hindu family, everybody has this book Bhagawad Gita. But they just go through those theoretical concepts of Bhagawad Gita. But there are very few who actually follow these instructions in their life.
I mean, which verse can you talk about from the Gita which mentions this sort of peace formula? Because I think that's what people are really looking for now.
We have to understand this entire creation belongs to Lord. He is the person who has created entire creation. Now, if everything belongs to Him, that means He is the enjoyer. So, if we see in battlefield of Kurukshetra as compared to the wars which are happening today, there is a very big difference we have to understand. Just like if we see World War I and II, why it actually happened, the cause for that war was enviousness. The war of Kurukshetra is Dharma Kshetra Kurukshetra. This war was fought under guidance of the Lord. This word Mamaka is also present in today's world.
Mind.
Yes, everybody is living with this concept of I and mine. We don't just consider few members of our family as mine. We consider entire creation as part of the Lord's family, and I am also part of His family.
Yes.
So all living entities are part of my family. For this land for which all of us are fighting together, this entire planet belongs to somebody else. We are not the proprietor. Why we are fighting? We come here for some time, then we have to leave this body and go somewhere.
Yeah.
All these concept of religions are based on bodily concept of life. Now when you say I have to develop love for God, that means you have to develop love for not only God but for all His part and parcel, who have not only mankind, all
Animals,
living entities.
All living entities. We all know that Hinduism's most profound spiritual dialogue, the Bhagawad Gita, takes place on a battlefield. And it is against the backdrop of war that Lord Krishna advises Arjun on how to reach a state of mental equanimity and attain self-realization. Over the last few months, the world has witnessed a series of unsettling events and wars, throwing people into a state of inner turmoil. In such uncertain times, we can definitely benefit from the teachings of the Bhagawad Gita. I'm Anushka Jagtiani, and on this episode of Buzz by the Bay, we have with us a dedicated monk from the Hare Krishna movement, Sriman Vrajraj Das. He is a computer science engineer by qualification who now specializes in applied spirituality. And he's going to talk about strategies we can use from the Bhagavad Gita in our daily lives to achieve a sense of inner peace. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Wonderful to meet you, and
thank you so much.
Thank you for coming on the show. We really need teachings from the Gita at a time like this, at all times, but especially now when there's so much upheaval in the world. But firstly, I love this term applied spirituality. You are a computer science engineer. Okay, so I've heard of applied maths and applied physics, but what is applied spirituality?
Yes, very nice question. So, applied spirituality means that if you see in any normal Hindu family, everybody has this book Bhagawad Gita. But they just go through those theoretical concepts of Bhagawad Gita. But there are very few who actually follow these instructions in their life. And among them also there are very few who actually experience what is real spiritual life. So we want to bring this knowledge in a very practical way in everybody's life, so that everybody can experience what is real spirituality.
Yeah.
Bhagavad Gita is not a theoretical knowledge that you just keep it in your house, you do puja very nicely in front of it, and you don't know what is there inside Bhagavad Gita. Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita knowledge to Arjuna. Maybe that knowledge is not meant for me, but actually Lord spoke that knowledge for everyone.
Yes.
Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that Mavev Amsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. All jivas are my part and parcel. I am their father. So actually I spoke this knowledge to everyone.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful explanation. I love that, because it's not that you just have the Gita to keep on in your puja room and do puja
Correct.
part. It's amazing how you can literally apply it to everyday life and how much it can actually help you. And over the course of this interview, we're going to, discuss a few verses and how all of us can apply it in these times to give ourselves, some respite. Firstly, we have seen so many wars right now, terrorist attack, wars, calamities. We have seen that now last few months, last couple of years. Seems to be no end to it. Bhagavad Gita also takes place against the backdrop of the battle of Kurukshetra between the Kauravas and the Pandavas. And so how does the Gita help us understand the nature of war? And what does Kurukshetra really symbolize?
So if we see in battlefield of Kurukshetra as compared to the wars which are happening today, there is a very big difference we have to understand. Just like if we see World War I and II, why it actually happened, the cause for that war was enviousness. Germans were envious of England.
Right.
Because the presence of England was all over the world. They had that global presence.
Yeah.
And Germans were good in their industrial production. So they were producing a lot of things, but they were not aware where they will be able to sell those products. So they became envious of England. And that was the beginning of this war.
Yeah.
So these wars are basically happening because of enviousness.
Okay. Yeah.
And enviousness also means lording over nature.
Lording over nature, absolutely.
This Prakriti is there, created by the Lord, and all of us have come here. We are trying to lord over this Prakriti. So if everybody is trying to become master in this world, then what will happen? There will be wars.
Absolutely.
But the war of Kurukshetra is Dharma Kshetra Kurukshetra. This war was fought under guidance of the Lord.
Under guidance of the Lord.
Yes.
Okay.
It was not because of, Arjuna was envious of Duryodhana and that is why the war was declared. Yes, definitely Duryodhana was on the wrong path and Krishna wanted to establish Dharma.
Yeah.
And that is why this war was fought.
Yes.
But today, these wars which are happening, it is all because of enviousness.
Even if they're fought in the name of religion, again, the cause is actually ruling over a certain territory,
Yes.
claiming a certain
Correct.
land,
Yes.
showing that your religion is superior to others.
Correct.
So, again, it's all boils down to enviousness and ego.
Correct.
And as you said, so the Kurukshetra war, again, just to set it in context, was a war for dharma,
Yes.
guided by the Lord.
Yes.
Again, the Pandavas, that is Arjun and his brothers, they had tried to make peace
Correct.
many times.
Yes.
But the Kauravas rejected all their offers.
Yes.
And so it had to come to this.
Correct.
Okay. So we could start with, the opening scene. Lord Krishna, Sri Krishna is Arjuna's charioteer. He brings a chariot, stations it between the two armies, and then Arjun totally collapses because he sees Bhishma Pitama and he sees Dronacharya.
Family members, yes.
And he sinks in horror. So if you could specifically talk about a couple of verses that can help us today. Let's start with 1.1 if you'd like.
Yeah. So this verse was the first verse of Bhagavad Gita spoken by Dhritarashtra. So Dhritarashtra is asking Sanjaya that, what is happening in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Dhritarashtra vacha, that Dharma Kshetra Kurukshetra. And then he says that what is happening between my sons and Pandavas. Mamaka Pandavas Cheva. Kim akurvata Sanjaya. So why he is asking this question, you can see that the word what he has used is Mamaka, means my sons.
My sons, right.
Although Pandavas were considered like his sons only.
Yes.
They were living under his shelter.
They were his brother's children, yes. And under his
so
shelter.
this word Mamaka is also present in today's world.
Mine.
Yes, everybody is living with this concept of I and mine. This is the bodily concept of life, because of which all these wars are happening. This is my country, this is my religion, this is my family. But real spirituality means when we come out of this bodily concept of life.
When we come out of this bodily concept.
We don't just consider few members of our family as mine. We consider entire creation as part of the Lord's family. And I am also part of His family.
Yes.
So all living entities are part of my family. Then there will be no wars in this world.
Then there will be no wars.
Yes. But when we live in this world in a very bodily concept of life, then all these divisions come. All these designations are connected with this body, they come up in this world.
Yeah. So again, coming to, if you could go deeper a little bit into this 1.1.
Yeah.
You know, Dhritarashtra, the blind king, his fondness for his own sons had clouded his spiritual wisdom.
Correct.
Essentially, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And, you know, it had deviated him from the path of virtue.
Correct.
So if you could just little bit go more into what we can learn from that.
Yeah, just like Dhritarashtra was not physically blind, he was also spiritually blind.
Okay.
So it is mentioned in the scriptures that dharma hina pashubi samana. If there is no dharma in the life of human beings, they are almost like animals.
Yeah.
So if you see around this world, you observe animals, how they behave with each other. They also fight with each other. If you see outside, some dogs are there. They will have some their areas, where they bark.
Yeah.
And if some other dogs will come in that area, they will start barking on them. Then there will be fights. Similarly, it is mentioned in the scriptures that if there is no dharma in the life of human beings, they will almost become like animals. Animals means there are 4 activities. Ahara, nidra, bhaya, mathunam. Eating, sleeping, mating and defending. These are the only 4 engagements for human beings if they are like animals.
Yeah.
So today all these fights are happening because for eating, sleeping, mating, defending. That's it. There is no concept of spirituality.
What has happened these days, Prabhuji, with all these events and catastrophes and wars, we are seeing a lot of death and destruction around us. It's causing a lot of anxiety in people.
Correct.
Again, it's that fear of death that everyone has. And, we are all born to ultimately shed this body and reach another realm. But still this fear is so strong.
Correct.
So how does the Bhagavad Gita, which verse can you tell us which helps us understand, life, can get overcome this fear of death?
So there is a verse in 2nd chapter, 13th verse. Dehinosmin yatha dehe ko maram yovanam jara tatha dehantara praptir dhira satranam uyati. Where Krishna explains that first principle of spiritual life is to understand that we are not this material body, we are spirit soul. Now, soul is not part of this material world, we have to understand. Soul has come from another world, which we call in Bhagavad Gita as spiritual world.
Yeah.
And because all of us have come from that spiritual world in this material world, this place is a cause for anxiety for us. Just like, if you're traveling in a ship, although you are on a ship, but if you are in the middle of the ocean, then still you're not safe. There will be some anxiety in your heart.
Yeah.
Because that is not a normal situation for you to live in.
Right.
Similarly, spirit souls have come from the spiritual world in this material world because of their material desires. And we have accepted these material bodies, which is a cause for all types of dukkha in this world. Not only wars, all these natural calamities, whatever anxiety is there, stress, everything is there because Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita that this material world is dukkhalayam ashashvatam. Dukkhalayam means just like if you go to Pustakalaya, what you will get there?
Books.
Similarly, Krishna explained this place is dukkhalayam.
All you get is sorrow.
This is not the place for you. For us, our natural position is to be free from this body, to be in a liberated state where we can be with the Lord, engage in His devotion service like that.
So, as you said, we are actually, we're Atman, we are the soul. Correct. And we are in this material world, we don't feel ourselves. But now we have assumed this body, right? We have to also live in this world. We cannot just take our own lives and end our lives. But within this body, you have to know your true nature. And is that really what is true liberation? To live in this body and yet realize your true nature.
Yes, definitely. If we follow the instructions of the Lord, which are mentioned in Bhagavad Gita as it is in our life, Bhagavad Gita is like a manual for us. Just like you purchase any machine from the market, you get one manual with that. If you follow that manual as it is, the machine will work very nicely.
Yeah.
Similarly, Krishna explained this material body is like a yantra. Yantra rudhani maya. Yantra means machine.
Yeah.
If you follow the manual of this machine, in this body also you can experience all type of peace, happiness, everything, even on a material platform.
even on a material platform. So going little deeper into 2.13, which is the true nature of the soul.
Correct.
If you could just go a little deeper into the verse, because what it says is just as the embodied soul continuously passes from childhood to youth to old age,
Correct.
similarly at the time of death, the soul passes into another body.
Yes.
And the wise are not deluded by this.
Correct.
So if you could
So what Krishna explains here, just like all of us generally believe in this theory that this body is growing, but body never grows. Just like this place is also like matter.
Yeah.
This sofa, this table will never grow in size. This will remain as it is.
Yeah.
Similarly, this body is also matter. This will never grow. But body is changing even in this life. Although that change we cannot see how it is happening. It is happening very seamlessly by Prakriti.
Yeah.
Even medical science, you see, medical science also they accept that after every 7 years, each and every cell of this body gets replaced. That means 7 years back the material body which you had has already got replaced. So the person who knows this science, that I am changing my body even in this life, and this change will happen at a time of death, he will not be afraid of death. That person becomes dhira, a sober person. So the human form of life is meant to reach this state of life. This is called self-realization.
Self-realization.
Where you can clearly understand difference between you and this material body. Just like you're sitting in a car. So you can see a difference between you and the car. But here you don't experience that.
So this is the vehicle.
Yes. You have misidentified yourself with this material body. You are thinking, I am this body, and all the desires of this body are my desires, and we are working very hard entire life for fulfilling all these material desires which are connected to this material body. Correct.
So if you understand this, then you will never fear death.
Correct.
Which is what most people fear. The
biggest fear in this world is death.
Yes.
Correct. You can get rid of all other types of fears, but you cannot get rid of fear of death.
Yeah.
So now Krishna explains here that if you can reach this state of dhira, then you'll become free from this fear of death.
But the Gita also gives you ways to put it in practice.
Yes. So it is explained here in scriptures that Adu Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha Bhajan Kriya. Practice only happens when you are in association of a spiritualist. First step is Adu Shraddha. First thing, you should have faith in the scriptures. That is a very important principle in your spiritual life.
Yeah.
Then Adu Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha. You should take association of devotees who are on this path.
Yeah.
When you take their association, it becomes very easy for you to practice Bhagavad Gita in your life.
Okay, association of devotees. So satsang.
Satsang, yes.
Satsang. You have to have the company of those kind of spiritual beings.
Correct.
Okay. Of course, that's very, very important, and to keep spreading this knowledge, That's why I've invited you on the show, to have the company, good satsang. Another verse that deals with the nature of the soul is 2.23 and 2.24. Also say that the self, weapons cleave not, fire cannot burn it.
Correct.
And water can't wet it, and the wind cannot dry.
Yes. That is why life exists on each and every planet. Because soul cannot be burned. So it is mentioned that life exists even on sun planet. Okay. So there are also spirit souls which are living there. There are also well-planned cities. So soul is all pervading. Everywhere life exists in this entire creation. But we cannot see that. We cannot conceive the presence of spirit soul everywhere.
Yeah, but to get to that realization, Prabhuji, is difficult, right? I mean, that comes through what? Just constant abhyasa, meditation, satsang, as you said, having a spiritual guide.
Correct.
Having faith.
Yes.
But how else? I mean, is it through japa, I guess through a lot of ways, right?
Yes. So it is mentioned in Bhagavatam, that very nice shloka spoken by Shukdev Goswami. He is son of Vyasdev who wrote all the scriptures. So Shukdev Goswami says that Kaler dosh nide rajan asti eko mahan guna kirtana deva krishna se mukta sangha param rijet. He explains that Kaler dosh means this Kali Yuga is full of faults. But asti eko mahan guna, there is one great quality, that just by chanting this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, a person can get rid of all these faults. Simultaneously, he can also make spiritual advancement. So even Krishna, when he appeared in this Kali Yuga 500 years back in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he brought this concept of chanting of holy names of Krishna. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that Harer Nam, Harer Nam, Harer Nam, Evahi Kevalam, Kalau Nasteva Nasteva Nastev Gatir Annetha. In this Kali Yuga, there is no other solution for spiritual advancement than the chanting of this Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So physical, mental austerities are not possible in this Kali Yuga.
Right.
So Lord has mentioned that wherever you are, whether you are a brahmachari, sannyasi, grahastha, vanpras, whatever you are, you be there and you chant the holy names of the Lord.
So what if, let's say, somebody doesn't belong to the Hindu religion,
Correct.
to another religion?
Yeah, so they can chant their holy names. Like God can be addressed by different names. So whatever names they're chanting, that's like in Christianity also, you see there is a concept of chanting of holy names.
Yeah.
They chant on that rosemary, correct?
Yeah.
So like that in every religion there is a concept of chanting of holy names. So
Yeah.
they can address the same Lord by different names. There is no harm in that.
Okay, so that's the beauty of it. It's all accepting
Yes.
this philosophy, right? It's like whatever spiritual philosophy you belong to, or religious tradition you belong
Yes.
to, you take that name because
Yes.
ultimately God is one.
Yes,
So
God
that
is
is the fundamental belief.
Correct, correct.
And that's a very progressive belief.
Yes.
Because Prabhuji, if more people had this belief, we would have so many less wars. I wish more people could see life like
Yes.
that. And which brings me to this finding peace. How do we find peace, like at a global level and within? I mean, which verse can you talk about from the Gita which mentions this sort of peace formula? Because I think that's what people are really looking for now.
So Krishna explains Bhagavad Gita in the 5th chapter that Bhoktaram yagi tapasam sarva loka maheshwaram surdam sarva bhutanam gyatam mam shantim richiti.
This is 5th chapter.
29th verse.
29, yeah.
So Krishna explains that Bhoktaram. Bhoktaram means the person who is the enjoyer. So we have to understand this entire creation belongs to Lord. He is the person who has created entire creation. Now, if everything belongs to Him, that means He is the enjoyer. Correct? Just like in your house, you are the enjoyer.
Yeah.
If any of your maid servants says, no, I am also the enjoyer, then there will be fights. So that is what has happened in this creation. Krishna very clearly explains that He is a Bhoktaram. He is the creator of this entire creation. Everything belongs to Him. And we are part of this creation. So we have a very specific duty to perform for the pleasure of the Lord.
Right.
Of course, He is not forcing us. He has given us that free will. But if we misuse that free will, that will create problems in this material world. So Bhoktaram means first to understand what is position of Krishna. Bhoktaram yagya tapasam. Now, what is our duty in this world to perform? Our duty is to perform yagya, sacrifices for the pleasure of the Lord.
Okay.
Just like, we are getting supplies from the government in different ways and we are meant to pay tax to the government. If we don't pay tax to the government, then we will call as a thief.
Yes.
Correct? So similarly, we are getting supplies from this Prakriti in different ways, like sunlight, water, oxygen, many things are. In fact, this material body is not created by us, it's given by God Himself.
Yes.
So whatever we have got through this Prakriti, we are meant to pay it back to the person who has created everything. So how we can pay it back? So Lord has created a concept of yagya. Sacrifice.
Yeah.
Sacrifice means that whatever Lord has given to you, you use it in His devotion service. That is called sacrifice.
Okay.
Just like, for example, before eating food, simple phenomenon what we have learned in our schools, correct? We offer that food to the Lord. At least in our mind we remember, Krishna has given this food to us. This is also one concept of sacrifice. So in the sense, if the entire world understands this thing, that for the land, for this land for which all of us are fighting together, this entire planet belongs to somebody else. We are not the proprietor. Why we are fighting? We come here for some time, then we have to leave this body and go somewhere.
Yeah.
If you bring God in the center, in this entire world, then only there can be unity among all the countries, among all the religions.
But some might say that if you bring God in the center, that's becoming more divisive because everybody brings their own God in the center. They refuse to accept that it's actually just one, supreme being.
Correct.
So then how do you overcome this situation?
Yes, that is why we have to understand this very important phenomena which is mentioned in the scriptures, that all these concept of religions are based on bodily concept of life. the very fact when we say that I am Hindu, I am American, I am Indian, I am Chinese, I am Russian, I am Muslim, all these are bodily designations.
Bodily designations.
Real dharma starts when you understand that sarvopadi vinirmuktam tat paratvena nirmalam. Upadi means designations. When you rise above this bodily platform, when you understand I am the spirit soul and every life I am changing this body. That is why you will see there are many cases of reincarnation where a person, he has taken birth in a Hindu family, earlier he was in a Muslim family. All those cases are there in this world. Correct? That means this body has nothing to do with real dharma. What is real dharma? Real dharma means is to develop love for God.
Love for God.
Now when you say I have to develop love for God, that means you have to develop love for not only God but for all his part and parcels. Who have not only mankind, all
Animals,
living entities.
All living entities.
Not that we only have love for human beings and we send animals to slaughterhouses. That will not solve the problem.
That won't solve the problem.
Yes. Because today, we are running this slaughterhouse in this entire world. We are killing lakhs of animals. Result of these sinful activities are coming in the form of wars and all these things which are happening in this world.
Beautifully put, really beautifully put. And I like that you said that we're here on earth for a temporary period of time, and yet we fight so much about claiming this land and claiming this and that and fighting over whose religion is superior, when ultimately everything belongs to the Supreme Lord.
Yes.
Really. So what are we fighting over? And as you said, love for God means love for not all living beings, not just humanity, but all living beings.
Yes.
And it's such an easy principle, but it's very difficult to implement, which is why we're seeing what we're seeing. Again, talking about peace, even Shloka 12.15 talks about the path of peace, which says, one who does not hate others, does not judge or harm them, and is free from ego will gain peace.
Correct. So all these things will not be there as soon as you come out of this bodily concept of life.
Yeah.
When you come out of this bodily concept of life, you become free from the concept of I and mine. There is something which belongs to me. I am the proprietor of this. When you understand that everything belongs to Lord, you are not a proprietor, then you are free from all these designations, all these problems which are there in this world.
So that brings us to the concept of surrendering completely to the Lord. If you could, tell us a few important verses which deal with this idea of full surrender.
Yes, so Krishna explains that the goal of human form of life is that sarva dharman paritajya mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshashami vashuju.
This is verse
18.66.
18.66.
Yeah. So Krishna explains that if a person fully surrenders to the Lord and takes his instructions as it is in his life, follows them as it is in his life, then he will become free from all types of sinful reactions in his life. The biggest cause for our suffering in this material world, any kind of anxiety, any problem in our life which we are going through, is because of our own sinful reactions.
Our own karma.
Own karma. And because of the sinful reactions, we are not able to practice spirituality nicely.
So this karma creates sanskaras or tendencies in you.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you engage in sinful activities, your mind cannot be peaceful. And if your mind is not peaceful, you cannot take to spirituality. And if you're not able to take to spirituality, then there will be no advancement in your spiritual life.
Yeah.
So like that, what Krishna explains is, okay, we will not discuss about your past karmas. Now you know, this is Bhagavad Gita, this is the purpose of your life. Now you surrender unto me. I will take charge of all your karmas. And you follow my instructions as it is, without any reservation. There are 4 kinds of sinful activities: intoxication, meat eating, gambling, illicit sex. If we avoid these 4 kinds of sinful activities and we take to the process recommended in Bhagavad Gita, then we will become free from all types of sinful reactions, and there will be no fights in this world.
Yeah.
If everybody takes to this process. In fact, our Acharya, founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada explains one place, even if 10% of the population in the world take to this process of Bhagavad Gita, then the entire world will become peaceful.
Even if just 10%.
10%, yes. Entire world can become peaceful. Entire world can become like Vaikunt. Yeah. If even 10% of the population can take to this process of Bhagavad Gita.
Vaikunt as an abode of Vishnu.
Yes.
But again, like you said, these are sinful activities. But every spiritual philosophy or religious belief will have their own definition of sinful activities.
Correct. So we have to understand that there are different stages in our spiritual advancement of life. So the principles what Krishna has shared are the ultimate principles of spiritual life.
Okay.
Because just like in a school, if you go to a nursery class, then there is a different level of knowledge with which children are dealing with.
Yeah.
And if you go to 12th class, then they are talking about physics, chemistry, and other subject matters. Similarly, the highest level of understanding which is given in about dharma is there in Bhagavad Gita, because Krishna also explains that this knowledge is Raj Vidya. Raj Vidya means is the king of knowledge.
Yes.
For that subject matter, we can even understand the science what Krishna has shared in Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
What happens when you avoid the sinful activities? Just like if you do intoxication,
Yeah.
what happens? You lose this principle of austerity in your life.
Yeah.
If you engage in animal killing, you lose this concept of compassion in your heart. Correct? Today we see human beings are losing compassion because of this only. So it's a complete science. If somebody understands this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, it has everything, whatever
Yes.
is in other scriptures.
That's true.
Yes.
That's true. Actually,
Correct.
that's true. It's very universal. The
Correct.
Bhagavad Gita is universal. And just last couple of comments on this 1866. The shloka which you just described, which speaks of complete surrender to the divine will of God. It assures that by letting go of all worries and completely trusting in the divine, one will attain peace and liberation. This brings the question of dharma. What about our own dharmas then? If we surrender everything, what about our own dharmas or purpose or our own true nature? What happens to that? And if you could just explain this concept of dharma in this context, in the context of this verse, and what is spiritual dharma, what is material dharma?
Yeah. So we have to understand a very important subject matter here, that what is the purpose of human formal life. So the topmost duty of dharma for that subject matter is to get liberation from this cycle of birth and death. All living entities in this material world are suffering because they have accepted this material body for their material desires.
Yeah.
So the real solution to this problem is to get rid of this cycle of birth and death.
Yeah.
So that is the topmost duty of any human being.
Right.
Because this chance we get after we have gone through all 84 lakh species of life. So
Okay.
human beings, they have this spiritual intelligence by which they can understand the scriptures, follow the instruction of Krishna in their life as it is,
Yeah.
and they can get liberation from cycle of birth and death. Now that liberation is only possible when you develop love for God.
Yeah.
So now how to connect our material duties with the spiritual duties, correct? So we can connect all our activities with our spiritual duties. For example, I gave you an example of eating food. Just like today, if anybody cooks food in his house, generally we cook food for us, correct?
Yeah.
That is the desire what we have, that is the mind, how we
Yeah.
think. But if we cook that food for the pleasure of the Lord, you are not only nourishing your material body, but you are also nourishing your spirit soul. You are also making spiritual advancement simultaneously when you are taking prasadam. Prasadam means the food which is offered to
Prasadam which
Krishna.
you cook for the Lord. Yeah.
Similarly, for parents, when they are taking care of their children, what is the highest responsibility for their parents? To make sure that children are making spiritual advancement in their life. So, like that, in that sense, all our activities can be spiritualized if we can connect them to God. Everything in this world, nothing is there which you cannot connect to Lord.
Right. So that is the thing. So when you talk about complete surrender to God, it doesn't mean that you give up or you reject your dharma.
No.
Like let's say your dharma, one's dharma is to maybe look after the elderly parents.
Correct.
That is your material dharma, because
Correct.
that is dharma that arises from you being in this material body.
Part of that family, correct.
So that is your material dharma. Your spiritual dharma is towards God.
Yes.
Duty towards God. Material dharma is by virtue of being, let's say, I'm Anushka, I'm in this body, I'm born in such and such a family,
Correct.
I work for this organization, so I have to fulfill certain duties,
Correct.
which I cannot shirk. So
Yeah.
when you talk about complete surrender, it does not mean that I give up on all my material dharma.
Yeah, so the beginning of this surrender means that we may not be able to give up our current material engagements, but we can sacrifice the results of our activities.
That's karma.
That is
yoga.
karma yoga. Suppose you are working here and doing other activities, the result what you get out of it, you can offer to the Lord.
Okay, exactly. So dedicate all your karma, all your actions to the
Yes.
Lord, and don't focus on the karma phala, the results of the
Yes,
action.
yes.
Do it with dedication.
Correct.
Lastly, Prabhuji, this is the Rath Yatra is happening now, very
Correct.
auspicious time. If you could give a word, what is the significance of this Jagannath Rath Yatra?
Correct. So there is a very nice pastime. In short, I will try to explain.
Yeah.
So all of us know Krishna was there in Vrindavan
Yeah.
with all his gopis, Radharani, all his pure devotees.
Yeah.
And then Krishna left Vrindavan, then he went to Mathura and finally to Dwarka.
Yeah.
So later on, Krishna became the king of Dwarka, and then for a festival or a program during solar eclipse, he went to Kurukshetra
Okay.
for some festival.
Yeah.
And this time Krishna went like a king there on his Ratha.
On his Ratha.
And that time gopis and Radharani were also present in Kurukshetra.
Oh, okay.
So because of their love and this feeling of separation from Krishna,
Yeah.
they wanted to take Krishna back to Vrindavan.
Ah.
So they were trying to pull his Ratha,
Pull his
with
Ratha.
that feeling of love and devotion.
Okay. Okay.
So that is observed in Jagannath Puri,
Uh-huh.
where Ratha is being taken, on which Jagannath ji, who is Krishna only,
Yeah.
is being dragged
Yes.
by devotees who are actually playing the role of like gopis and Radharani, who wanted to bring them in their life.
Yeah.
So we also pull that Ratha to bring Krishna in our life.
To bring Krishna in our life. That's a symbolism
Yes.
of this, and it's a very auspicious time.
Yeah, very auspicious.
So we hope better times ahead now
Correct.
with
Yeah,
this
definitely,
Rath Yatra.
definitely. We should pray to the Lord that everything becomes peaceful.
Yeah.
And more we engage in devotional service to Krishna, people become free from all the sinful reactions.
Yeah.
And then we can expect people to be more peaceful and happy in this world.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. That was a wonderful discussion. Thank you.